Today, our commission meeting, the County of San Diego, Leon Williams, San Diego County Human Relations Commission. Our meeting today is November 29th, 2022, and we're starting at 10:07. So this meeting is now called to order. Roll call.
All right, Commissioner Anaya, Vice Chair Arton, Commissioner Kate Clark, Commissioner Cinnamon Clark, Commissioner De Los Rios,
Present.
Commissioner Desert, Commissioner Elliott Santos,
Present.
Commissioner Evans,
Present. I'm going to be switching over to my phone because I have another meeting in San Diego. I'm in Oceanside, so I'll be driving and listening. Okay.
okay, thank you, Commissioner Evans. Commissioner Farouk,
Present.
Commissioner Fowler,
Present.
Commissioner Garcias,
Present.
Commissioner Griffin Jones, Commissioner Hussain, Commissioner Hodges,
Present.
Commissioner Ishmael,
Present.
Commissioner Corey,
Present.
Commissioner Legaspi, Vice Chair Murray Ramirez,
Present.
Chair Nash,
Present.
and Sheriff Ray, was he able to get in?
Present.
Thank you, Edith. Commissioner Roberts,
Present, sir.
District Attorney Summer Stephan,
Present.
Commissioner Villaforte.
Present.
All right, and with that, we can get started, Chair Nash.
Okay.
Could I have a point of information? When we call roll, couldn't we say excuse absence? And because haven't we passed something about attendance?
Yes, we will. Moving forward, we can make sure we put that read that into the record.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to mention that as well, because there were commissioners that did notify us
Right,
that they would be absent today. Do you have those names?
I do. I
Okay.
can read into the record right now, Chair Nash.
Please.
So we have Commissioner Legaspi, Commissioner Desert, Commissioner Griffin Jones, Commissioner Kate Clark, and Commissioner Hassan,
Okay. Thank you.
with excused absences.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we move on to land acknowledgement?
All right, in recognition of and in respect for Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards of the land that we now call the County of San Diego. For millennia, the Kumeyaay people have been a part of this land. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony as members of the San Diego community and inhabitants of the Mayat, Tepe, Kumeyaay territory. We acknowledge this legacy. We promote this balance and harmony. We find inspiration from this land, the land of the Kumeyaay.
Thank you. In recognition of our Celebratory Awareness Month, we wanted to recognize Native American Heritage Month. I had asked Angela, is she here? Angela Elliott?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. I was wondering, would you have, could you share some comments with us, Commissioner Santos?
Yes, I would be happy to. I first just want to say thank you for the land acknowledgement. It really means a lot to my people. And I just want to talk a little bit about Native American Heritage Month. It's a month that this country needs. a time where we can reflect on the truth of what happened to the Native American people across this country. I can speak specifically to what happened in California and the need for the truth to be told. As we sit here, all of us are part of this Human Relations Commission, and it needs to be acknowledged that the first people of California and the entire United States, our history has been hidden, it's been romanticized. There has been efforts to pretty much write us out of history, and definitely not to tell the truth about what actually occurred. So I want to read a quote from Peter Burnett. He was the state's first elected governor once California was added to be part of the United States. And these things should be taught in history. So in one of his State of the State addresses in 1851, he says that a war of extermination will continue to be waged between the races until the Indian race becomes extinct, must be expected. He also added money to allow militia and other people to actually hunt and kill Indians and receive a bounty from the state of California's coffers. So today, as everyone thinks about Native American Heritage Month, and I'm sorry to have to say it, the word genocide has to be remembered. And it's really difficult for me because the dehumanization of my people, it's never been told accurately. When you can really say that one race deserves to be hunted and a bounty put on their head, it's unbelievable to me that that occurred. And it's something that I was never taught in history. And so having a month where, you know, our heritage is celebrated, that's one great thing. But also telling that truth so that it never happens again has to become part of Native American Heritage Month. For me, I know that before casinos were prevalent in this county, a lot of people didn't know that Native Americans still existed in San Diego County. But in reality, San Diego County is home to more Native American tribes than any other county in the United States. In California alone, there were over 80 Native languages. There were hundreds of thousands of Native Americans present at the time of contact. And then in 20 years, 80% of those natives were gone. Especially once gold was discovered in California, then that's what brought on the bounties being paid for our people to be murdered, and all the things that went on. And that being said, all that terrible history, the one thing that I do want to add is my people are still here. We're still here and we're coming back. We're resilient. We've survived the unthinkable. And please don't anyone take what I've said to think that I'm persecuting anyone. I know the people that I'm talking to today are not the people who did this to the first people of California or of the United States. But I am talking to the people who can make a change and make sure that Native American Heritage Month is celebrated in a good way, and that the truth is told, and that the reality of us still being here is told, and to also celebrate our resilience, because it took a lot to still be here. One of the things that hurts me the most is looking at old census rolls years ago. They had a birth and a death portion of the census roll. And I found out that my great grandmother buried 2 of her children in 1 year. And she went on to have more children, and one of them was my grandma. So I'm only here because she survived the unthinkable. She buried her children, and at a time where there was no hope. I wonder what she thought as she contemplated the future and wondered what future her children were going to have, but she still had them with that ultimate hope that one day it would be a better place for us to all live in harmony and respect have respect for each other, to treat each other like humans. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of this board. And I know that's what our goals are. And so I appreciate you all allowing me to say a few words for Native American Heritage Month. And again, I'm so proud to be part of the efforts of this commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Angela. I'm very proud of you being part of
Beautiful.
our commission. Thank you. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And I think that we all learn something every time she and others speak. I know that I learn something more in what you just said. So I think it's wonderful we have these spotlights, because I think it educates us on different cultures. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I would like to go ahead and just a second. I would like to go ahead and adjust the agenda to also speak to the Hate Week comments, brief comments that I wanted to share, and also some comments that I would like Vice Chair Marina Merez to also to talk about, because I want to allow Barbara Jimenez and her team the remainder of the agenda, if that's okay. Thank you. Commissioner Evans?
Thank you. I just want to ask Commissioner Angela if she could send me some of the statistics so I could share them at our next board meeting, school board meeting, if possible.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have my email or contact
Yes,
information?
I do have your email.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Could that be sent to all our commissioners? I'm sure I like to see that too. I'm sure others would.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I second that. As a Palestinian who I think we are undergoing similar stuff that you guys have gone through. I'd love to have a lot of the information you can send us out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, to expedite time, I'm going to go ahead and just share a few comments on Hate Week, which occurred. I'm sorry we have to do these reminders within a negative context, but as it is important because we're about promoting positive human relations. So Hate Week occurred November the 13th. It's a 7-day event where local civic action by people in every community to stop hate and implement bias and implicit bias. And I just wanted to read a couple of quotes by Maya Angelou as I was thinking about my comments, where she says, "We cannot change the past, but we can change our attitude toward it, uproot guilt and plant forgiveness, tear out arrogance and seed humility, exchange love for hate, thereby making the present comfortable and the future promising." She also goes on to say, hate has caused a lot of problems in the world, but has not solved one yet. Exchange love for hate, thereby making the present comfortable and the future promising. One more. I believe that, and this is Maya Angelou, I believe that a negative statement is poison. I'm convinced that the negative has power. It lives. And if you allow it to perch in your house, in your mind, in your life, it can take you over. So when the rude or cruel thing is said, the lambasting, the gay bashing, the hate I say, take it out of your house. Exclamation point. Those negative words climb into the woodwork and into the furniture. And the next thing you know, they'll be on my skin. The words of Maya Angelou. I would like to turn this part over to our own Vice Chair, Commissioner Nicole Murray Ramirez. As we know, we've had a lot of hateful incidents, gun violence, mass shootings in the last few weeks during the holidays, even during Transgender Remembrance Day and time. So I thought it would be very important if Vice Chair Nicole Murray Moreras chairs that. I attended along with other commissioners. I believe Commissioner Simmons and Clark, we were there at the rally and protest last week. It was well attended, and I want to make a statement that I felt safe. Commissioner Nicole put on an event with law enforcement included, where residents like myself felt safe and comfortable and reassured. And I want to commend Commissioner Murray for putting that event on because it was well needed. But I just want to say again, we felt safe. Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your attendance. It was important, and Commissioner Clark and other commissioners that attended. And the rally was a rally against hate, period. I think you all know that the mayor of San Diego had just declared the week before against hate, San Diego against hate, and then the following week, there has been incidents in San Diego, sad to say, but it was a rally against hate, all hate. I think we all agree that a hate crime against one of us is a hate crime against all of us. But what the chair wanted me to focus on was Transgender Day of Remembrance. I think you all know that the transgender community, every month across this nation, the record of murders and assaults on transgender is sky high. It continues to be, and legislation against trans, and now they're focusing on drag queens and saying, well, no, drag queens, there's 3 states that have entered bills that they wish to ban drag queen entertainment in public. Now that brings to me, and I'm going to be very honest, in a national leadership call that we have every time out of Washington of national LGBT leaders, I was very blunt. I think that our community needed a long time ago to educate the general community, especially our allies and friends, about what is the transgender community, about pronouns and so forth. Many of you and many of my friends, allies, are asking me, and I understand that you don't know this because we haven't educated you and told you about a transgender, what that is community. There's mix up. People think that drag queens are transgender, crossdressers are transgender. And of course, this is not so. Also, the pronouns that have now become part of our community, we have not educated you about those. And I had told the national leadership meeting that we should spend a lot of money, as we do on other things, on public service announcements and educating our allies and friends. Some of you, I know, are being yelled at or not, saying, well, why don't you know this? And why don't you know my pronoun and so forth? I understand that because there was a survey taken of our own community, and more than half could not tell you what a transgender person was. So on that part, I think we should do more to educate and tell what and explain what transgender and stuff. That is no excuse, and I think many of you on your own find out, but I think it is our community's responsibility to make sure that you, our allies and friends, most of you, that you are educated in that. It's very important to also know that 95% of transgender that are being killed across the country are Black and brown transgender women. And that is very important to note, because that also continues, and many of you know I'm Latino, that the LGBTQ community is in every one of our cultures. And so it affects all of us in many ways. And so the Transgender Day Remembrance was a very important day. It's a day that our committee mourns the trans. I want you to know that in San Diego, there's been hate crimes and shootings within Hillcrest in the past, and that our police chief has been working lockstep with us. And 24 hours, I mean, I woke them up because I was in Chicago, and I was informed that some of my organization members had been shot up, and we have a chapter in Colorado Springs. And the chief and the sheriff, immediately I phoned the sheriff because I found this out before they did, because I got this call, immediately took action. And we're very grateful they are patrolling our gay clubs, and also in Oceanside in North County, our center there, and our center in South Bay. So I want to thank our chair for giving me this opportunity to speak on this, and thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Nicole. I was wondering if our Commissioner Ray, our interim deputy sheriff, is on the call.
I think he's still having trouble logging in. We're trying to get him in as soon as possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, all right.
Can I say a couple of words, Commissioner Ellen?
Please, yes, please.
I know that a couple of us, I'm pretty sure maybe 6 of us on this commission, also serve on the Anti-Hate Crime Coalition. And we also did some videos and did some tweeting and did a lot of around the campaign on a statewide level and a local level against hate. So I want to thank you for recognizing Stop the Hate Week, because it affects all of us. I didn't know, how traumatizing it is sometimes when you trigger some hate incidents or hate speech. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we do have an anti-hate crime coalition, which is been comprised of many of us that are on this call, and also law enforcement and community organizations. So thank you for recognizing Stop the Hate Week.
Great, great, thank you. I wanted a law enforcement voice here this morning, and I see our district attorney, Stephan is on the line. And as we go about our day, as residents interacting with people and shopping centers, I was at the mall, my favorite place, talking with my favorite customer service rep, and we just kind of looked at each other and, do you feel safe? What if something happens? Are you trained? And we just had that interaction subliminally, but we had that interaction. So this morning, Summer, could you just maybe give us some tips on, as we're out going about our day, our business, our shopping in the malls, just some things we might want to look for, because we are living in some challenging times right now. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much, Chairperson Nash. So related to, as you know, I attended the event that Commissioner Nicole Maria Ramirez organized, and I was able to give a report on hate crimes across the state and in also San Diego County. So that's one area that we always have to be vigilant about. We do know that in California, hate crimes went up by about 30%. In San Diego County, we had a similar rate, but we also then increased our prosecutions by 40%. So we got ahead of it by being extra vigilant with regard to hate crimes. We do know that this is something that is going to continue. In a recent meeting with the FBI, we discussed concerns, including what I can share is that unfortunately, social media and the fact that our kids relied heavily on social media during the COVID pandemic resulted in the very unregulated and many times highly unethical social media, sending kids a lot of messages that send them down rabbit holes of becoming more and more radicalized. And that is coming to fruition now. And I think it is related to the increase in hate crimes that we're seeing. Just to add, hate crimes remain at the highest rate for our Black and African American community. And then in category number 2 comes almost a tie. Nobody wants to be in that tie between the LGBTQ community and the Jewish community. So that's, and every other community, the API community, everyone is affected, but this is still remains the highest target groups that we see, you know, Hispanic or Arabic community, everybody is sadly a target to for someone. But I think what really can distinguish San Diego and has distinguished San Diego County is that we are our brother's keeper. We are looking out for each other. The Human Relations Commission is one of those great examples of that. So I would say that as you're out and about, be aware of your surroundings. Make sure very simply that you're locking your car doors, that you don't have visible packages available. Look around you as to what's going on, but not only to just protect yourself, but as observations as to others around you, especially people of color, others that may need your help. Don't intervene yourself, but do take information down, license plate numbers, descriptions. Write them down immediately while they're fresh in your memory. If it is not a 911, if it is a 911 call, make that 911 call. If it isn't, you can report to the FBI tip line, things that worry you, that are suspicious, someone on Facebook displaying weapons in a menacing manner, in a way that shows a threat to the public related to threatening messages. Take every threat seriously, because hate speech and threatening speech is often a precursor to bad things happening. Very simply, 80% of school shooters and shooters that target any mass area, you know, a shopping center, anything that has mass violence, they advertise their intent to do harm to at least 2 people. So this is something that they're not hiding. They send a manifesto, they tell people. And so very important that you take that seriously. If you just don't know where to go, you can go to sandiegoda.com, to our email website, because we're connected with all 12 police agencies, and we can help you direct your information to where it's needed. So those are kind of my general tips, is take threats seriously, trust your instincts, understand that if you're reporting something, so long as you're doing it in good faith and you're not making it up, based on your perception, it can be inaccurate, you won't get in trouble for it. The only thing that gets people in trouble is if they outright lie about information to get their neighbor or someone in trouble. Otherwise, all good faith reporting can be inaccurate, but it's much better than not reporting.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner District Attorney Summer Stephan, for those comments.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank our District Attorney Summer for coming and speaking at that gathering. And I want to tell you that we all agreed you had the most, of all the people that attended and spoke, you had probably the most passionate remarks, and we appreciated that.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. It was an honor to join you.
Now we're going to move into some housekeeping matters. the teleconferencing meeting option pursuant to Government Code Section 54953. E, I think our Director Andrew Strong has an update for us.
Yes, we do. And the update is that, so the meetings will begin to be in person starting in February, actually January next year, if we decide to have a meeting first thing in January. After the, and in February, the emergency order will expire. So we'll have to be in person unless there's some changes to the law, which we anticipate having. But once we have those changes, we'll definitely update the commission. But for now, we still need to go ahead and have this motion so we can make sure we can meet in December virtually if we choose to do so.
So moved.
Second,
All right, and I will call the roll. Commissioner Anaya, Vice Chair Arton, Vice Chair Kate Clark, Commissioner Cinnamon Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner De Los Rios,
Aye.
Commissioner Desert, Commissioner Elliott Santos,
Aye.
Commissioner Evans,
aye.
Commissioner Farouk,
Aye.
Commissioner Fowler.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcias,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan, Commissioner Hodges. Aye. Commissioner Ismail,
Aye.
Commissioner Corey,
Aye.
Commissioner Legaspi, Commissioner Murray Ramirez,
Aye.
Chair Nash,
Aye.
and I see the sheriff has joined us, Sheriff Ray.
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye, sir.
District Attorney Summer Stephan,
Aye.
Commissioner Villaforte.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously.
Great, great. Let's now move on to public comment, where folks from the public have the opportunity to speak to the commission on matters other than items that are on the agenda. Do we have public comments?
And I do see Commissioner Evans' hand is up. I'm not sure if you want to, if Commissioner Evans, you needed to speak towards that item.
Yes, I do. I actually have more of a question. Can we do hybrid meetings as well? Or does it have to be strictly mandatory starting in January?
Well, starting in January, we could still do a hybrid meeting if we choose to do so. But in February, once the emergency order expires, we would need to be in person unless there are changes to the law that we anticipate happening to the Brown Act.
Actually, the emergency order isn't lifted until the last day of February.
That's true, in February, so it'll be March.
Okay, because we're really spread wide apart.
Mhm,
And I know it's going to be an issue in terms of time and transportation.
mhm.
No, speaking for self. Okay,
So this is one of those places to lobby your legislators in this lame duck session and get something done before the end of the year.
excellent.
Yep. And we'll be coming back with recommendations for that as staff, so we'll be ready for you.
All right. Thank you.
Great, those are great questions because we are concerned about making sure our commissioners are accessible to these meetings, but considering our challenges and lifestyles and, the inflation as relates to just gas
And just
prices.
plain distance.
Yeah, yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I kind of moved quickly on that before I allowed you guys to discuss, but do we have any public comments?
So Chair Nash, we didn't have any members of the public wishing to speak prior to the meeting, but we do have Jacqueline Clark with her hand raised as a member of the public. I believe we can allow her to speak for 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
Good morning. My name is Jacqueline Clark, and I'm a resident of San Diego County, and I'm also an employee of the County of San Diego. So I'm on my break officially, for the record. I have a question regarding the statistics around anti-hate in San Diego County, knowing that the Mr. Bonta just put out, or not just put out, his report still indicates that anti-Black crime or hate still seems to be the most pervasive and prevalent across the state. And if I beg, we could say across the country. So in light of all of the hate that is occurring in San Diego County specifically, I would like to know what anti-hate based off of race, ancestry, or ethnicity, what type of laws, legislation, or bills exist within San Diego County. And if there is a move to address each group separately and or in totality. I think it's very important that, hate be addressed, but I don't think we should gloss over the fact that there is one group where it has consistently and been persistent over time, and it can only get worse left unchecked, just like for the other groups. So my question again is, what type of legislation, bills, ordinances, or whatever they're going to be called, exist or will exist addressing anti-race based off of race, ethnicity, and ancestry? Thank you.
Chair Nash, did you want me to
Yes,
provide those
yes,
statistics? Sure thing.
please.
Excellent question. And I'm sorry if you missed it, but I had emphasized that anti-Black and African-American hate remains the top category for hate crimes in the state and in our region in San Diego County. In San Diego County, the top category for hate crimes. Hate crimes are a crime that's committed with a hate bias against someone's race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. And the race-based tops the list. The Black African-American race-based in San Diego is 36%, even though we know that that is much higher than the percentage of the population. Race-based hate crimes in California that are based in anti-Black race increased by 12.5% between 2020 and 2021. And in San Diego, we filed and prosecuted 9 cases just solely based on anti-Black hate crimes in 2010, in 2020, and 10 in 2021. Again, that's the highest single category of prosecutions. And as to your question as to any laws, the laws are a state law that makes hate crimes be treated in a special way, meaning a hate crime allegation is added that elevates a misdemeanor to a felony and makes a felony be worthy of more time in jail or prison for committing a hate crime. So it is based in law in the penal code in the state of California. It's also can be prosecuted under federal law. So it's more than an ordinance, because an ordinance is just a misdemeanor. It's more of a very serious law. But what is needed is more culturally competent education and prevention in every community. I hope that partially answers your question, and if not, I'm happy, just reach out to me to speak to you offline about it more.
Thank you. I think next year we do need to bring this back on our agenda. Commissioner, District Attorney Summer Steffen, and commissioners, to delve deeply into the issue and really come up with best practices and solutions to reduce. And I think that's what our Ms. Clark is really getting at, is how do we reduce the statistics? I in terms of hate crimes. So if we could bring it back, we'll bring it back on the agenda, dedicate maybe a meeting just to talking about solutions and best practices and how we can reduce those numbers. Thank you, Ms. Clark, for that great question. We're going to move on. Wow, where are we now? We're going to move on to the Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities with Ms. Barbara Jimenez, who's a Community Operations Officer. I've known Barbara for a long time. We met, I think, during the Live Well, Southeastern Live Well Center event that has now resulted in this beautiful building where our commitment there is to move people in Southeastern San Diego and other communities. I believe it was a total of servicing 30 to 35,000 residents and moving them from point A to point B, what I call from poverty to successful middle-class lifestyles. And that's how I see that center. I drive by every day and I've saw it from the ground up, and it demonstrates what Live Well San Diego is about, which is ensuring that residents in San Diego live well. And I really wanted to, first of all, to introduce the whole piece on homeless solutions. And if those slides are available, if you could just show those slides.
Okay, I will. I think I have the pictures up. And so if you could stop sharing your screen real quick, HHSA, and allow me to share real quick. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have them or did I send them? Perfect. These are pictures of that my daughter, who actually lives downtown now, and my grandson, they see every single morning. And so this is very near and dear and personal to me as a grandparent whose grandson has to see this every single morning. And so that's why I wanted to put it up. You can go ahead and take it down now. But I also am in another space, and Barbara, this gives you some context, but I'm also in another space where I'm working with Mitch Mitchell, Vice President of SEMPRA Government Relations and Competitive Edge, and looking at data and what residents are really thinking in San Diego. And I have a chart, I'll send it to the commissioners after the presentation. But one of the things that we have discovered is that just seeing homelessness, that's all I'm just seeing it, that Blacks encounter more neighborhood homelessness, Latinos see it in the county, and AAPI also see it and are exposed. And it also goes into the different areas of San Diego where it's just visually seen. That's all I want to speak to. Every single day, where you have 83% in the most dense areas of the city of San Diego, they are seeing it every day. And the less dense areas of the city of San Diego, as well as the county, they see it less. To me, visually seeing homelessness is traumatic. That's the point I'm trying to make. And with that said, Barbara, we're going to turn it over to you because you are, the title of your office is the Office of Solutions and Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities. And if I could just, I wanted to put it in within context, at least with regard to visually seeing homelessness every day and the trauma that it creates in communities such as the communities I live in. Barbara?
Thank you. Ms. Nash, you can hear me okay? Yes, perfect.
Yes.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Great to see lots of familiar faces. Thank you, Chair Nash and commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm going to kick us off and I appreciate the context, Chair Nash, around the reasons why this department was built and the work that we're doing. It has 3 key offices within the department. I'm just going to kick off and introduce my leadership team, the directors that report to me within this new department, and then hand it over to Jennifer Bransford-Coons, who will continue the presentation since I'm going to be hopping off. I do want to note that before I go further, I just want to reflect and thank you all. This first hour has been a combination truly of feelings, of hope, and all the conversations that you've had this morning. Each of the topics that you covered upon are really critical and reflect the important work of the Human Relations Commission. And I really appreciate it. And I thank you. And I thank you for inviting us today. The Department of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Communities is a fairly new department. It's about 1.5 years in. Our Board of Supervisors brought together and built this new department. I have the honor of leading it with 3 amazing directors. We have the Office of Homeless Solutions, which is led by Director Deanna Beck. And many of you work and have known her from our work previously in the regions and central and south regions in particular. We now serve the entire county. And so this Office of Homeless Solutions, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what this office has been doing in some of the work. The Office of Equitable Communities is led by Jennifer Bransford-Coons. She was my counterpart when I was the regional director in Central and South. She's been with the county. I think she's a little bit longer than I've been with 33 years. I think Jennifer beats me with a little bit more years with the county, brings a wealth of knowledge and is really focused, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into what is Equitable Communities does and how does that connect with our Office of Homeless Solutions and our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. And then our newest office is our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, and our director Lucero Chavez Basilio is with us today. And you're going to learn a little bit more about our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, what are the services that we provide, the launch of our Welcome Center, and the work that's being done again countywide, and that's really the focus. The department focus and the reason for this department is really to ensure that we're building that better coordination of all the different existing and new county homeless and equitable community efforts. I want to acknowledge that there is a lot of work that has been done in the past and that continues to be done both within our own county family, not just Health and Human Services, but the county of one, but more importantly, our community partners, our community residents, our grassroots organizations, just all of these partners. That mission and vision really is to ensure that we are building equity amongst all of our San Diegans and ultimately reducing homelessness and ending homelessness. And you're correct, Chair Nash, it is impactful, it is traumatic, it is something that we as an entity are hoping to bring together to really address the issue. No one entity can do it alone. We need to do it together. And that's why it's so important to be able to leverage not only the funding that's coming in from the state at unprecedented amounts, not only the work that the cities are doing in this arena, working together with them, but the approach that we take in the community with our partners, with our law enforcement, all of that is super critical and super important. And so we have this amazing team of directors within the department that are leading these efforts. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Bransford-Coons, who's going to talk a little bit about each of the offices. And then the directors are here today on the call to be able, on this meeting, to be able to answer any questions you might have afterwards. And again, I apologize, our timing was a little bit off this morning. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer. It's a pleasure to see you, and we are here for any follow-up or anything that might be needed afterwards.
I just want to make a comment before you leave, Barbara. The Board of Supervisors made a profound statement and resolutions around racism and homelessness as a public health crisis. And unfortunately, you're going to have to leave, but we'll bring you back, as well as the leadership team, to talk about how you actually translate and operationalize that particular resolution and statement, because it is profound, it is progressive, and it's in its context. But written, an announcement is only words. Your team and along with the leadership there are responsible for implementing. So I know we're going to be left with your directors, which is fine, but we need to bring you back, as well as the leadership, to talk about how you translate racism and homelessness as a public health crisis into the day-to-day operations of the county and make that a reality. Thank you for being here.
Yes, and today our hope really is to help share what is the department, what are the offices within the department, and then happy to come back and dive deeper into the critical issues. So thank you again, and my apologies. It sounds like our timing on the agenda and scheduling didn't work out for this time. And so thank you very much. And again, my apologies.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Jennifer Bransford Coons, and I have the great opportunity to lead the Office of Equitable Communities, as Barbara mentioned. I wanted to echo what Barbara said about the importance of everything that I've heard this morning. It was very impactful, and I'm just grateful to be able to share some time and space with you all this morning. So moving to the next slide, I'm just going to do an overview of each one of our offices. We'll have some time for questions at the end, as Barbara said, and then we're happy to come back and really delve deep into some of the things that you've brought up, Ms. Nash. So our Office of Homeless Solutions is broken into two different teams. They have the Systems and Integration team, and that's really looking at the development, implementation, and management of programs to reduce homelessness throughout the county. With enterprise-wide, county-wide partnerships, reducing barriers to access to services, and really looking at the data and driving that forward to reduce the number of folks that are even becoming homeless first. And then our services and outreach, which you may have seen on the street. Those are our teams that provide direct services through a trauma-informed street approach. They provide case management services and provide access to benefit programs to support those that are actually experiencing homelessness now. So this may look familiar to you. In November of 2021, so last year at this time, the Board of Supervisors approved the county's framework for ending homelessness. This is really our strategic guide for the design, development, and sustainability of programs that serve people that are homeless or at risk for homelessness. So I'm really excited that OHS has been able to work collaboratively to secure significant additional fundings in order to sustain and grow programs, and approximately around $30 million that really supports this framework. We work in conjunction with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness and the City of San Diego on the application for the Homeless Housing Assistance Program. And that funding, with all the coordinated data, funding analysis, as well as the common outcome goals, we're on track to collaboratively bring in about $50 million to our region, which is pretty exciting, directly to serve or to reduce the amount of people at risk for experiencing homelessness. So the county's allocation of this funding is about $12.8 million. And this was presented to the board in May of this year, and will continue to fund existing and new programs within the office. We also worked very collaboratively with the public safety group. So that's our sheriff and DA's group, to secure $6 million under Prop 47. And we were awarded that money in July of this year. So this funding is going to provide care coordination services to the recently released justice-involved individuals with mental health or substance use disorder who are at risk of becoming homeless. Additionally, OHS received $8 million for the Housing Disability Advocacy Program, which provides assistance, housing, and legal support to those who are disabled and experiencing homelessness. And then lastly, in collaboration with Aging and Independent Services, we're going to be leveraging funding from the Home Safe program, which is a state program, and it added nearly $3 million for the expansion of the criteria to serve older adults who are experiencing homelessness, which of course is a very vulnerable population. So I'm going to, next slide. So I want to talk about each one of our teams a little bit separately so you can see the impact each one is having. So first, our systems and integration team within OHS, they have overseen several programs, including our Housing Our Youth, or HOY program, which is specialized assistance to youth up to the age of 24 throughout the entire county who are at risk or are experiencing homelessness. It brings together partners in offering housing support and intensive care coordination, which is key. So since December of 2020, the HOY program has successfully placed 254 youth in housing program and permanently housed 131 youth. Another program that's been very, very important is our community care coordination, or C3. There's actually 3 separate programs and we're working on a 4th. But this program, or these programs, provide up to 12 months of comprehensive care coordination, service navigation, and housing to assist adults who, so the 3 different ones, they may have a serious mental illness and are at risk or are experiencing homelessness and are incarcerated or recently released from custody. So we're really working to try to house people and connect them to services even before they're released from custody. Another segment of our another program within that C3 is our justice involved veterans. So those are veterans that are released from the Veterans Moving Forward jail program. So trying to support them before they are released as well. And the third one is our people who are experiencing homelessness have very high needs, including behavioral health or chronic physical health conditions, and are exiting from local jails. So the 3 programs collectively have served 176 high-need individuals who are exiting custody. Of those, 93% were sheltered immediately upon release, and 52 were connected with permanent housing, and over 70% have received supportive services. We also have our domestic violence shelter-based program, which serves survivors of domestic violence across the county. Together, we've yielded with all of the community partners and all of the different organizations working towards this collectively in 21-22. We had 14,000 survivor engagements, and those of those 1,400 utilized a shelter bed and are receiving housing assistance. We have our specialized funding for imminent needs program, which is a flexible funding program used to pay for critical expenses to reduce housing barriers for unsheltered people in our community. So it allows for our case managers to be able to pay for things that might help people, keep people in housing, or help them to be able to continue to be sheltered in some way. We have our Compassionate Emergency Solutions and Pathways to Housing program, which provides emergency housing options through safe parking, sleeping cabins, and other shelters for people experiencing homelessness. All of our Compassionate Emergency Solution programs include case management, supportive services, housing navigation, with the goal of exiting participants to permanent housing, with a focus on housing first, trauma-informed, evidence-based harm reduction, and low barrier solutions. Several sites in the county are under review right now for viability, and once sites are approved, the county will contract with a consultant. We're about to have a listening session for people with ideas. And we can certainly share that information with you all as well, if anybody would like it. It's been circulated pretty widely. In May 2022, also the board created the $10 million Capital Emergency Housing Grant Program, which provided opportunities for the 18 incorporated cities to expand their emergency housing options. The awardees of the first grants were the City of Oceanside for their housing navigation, the City of Vista for their safe parking program, and the City of San Diego for a safe parking location for families and a safe camping location for seniors. The second round of applications are out, have been received, and we're going to make announcements shortly around those. And then you may have also heard we are working on a senior rental subsidy pilot program, which was approved by the board in September, which will provide a $500 monthly rental subsidy for 18 months to eligible seniors to try to reduce their risk of homelessness. So these are some of, I spoke a little bit about our compassionate housing solutions. These are some of the options that we are looking at or have already engaged with. Earlier this month, the very first, actually it was earlier in the summer, it was during the summer, the very first compassionate emergency housing solution for East County was launched. So with Dreams for Change, we have a Magnolia safe parking lot. It has 17 safe parking spaces every night for people experiencing homelessness who live in their vehicles. And that site is operating at capacity. This site has 24-hour security, provides 2 daily meals, has hygiene facility, and has case managers that connect residents to more permanent housing options and community resources. This site was established because earlier it had been a site where there was a large encampment. You can see it there on the left, and on the right, what this site looks like today. Another compassionate emergency housing solution is the Rosecrans Shelter. So that is a partnership with the county, the City of San Diego, and the Lucky Duck Foundation. The Lucky Duck Foundation donated the sprung structure, I always say that wrong, sprung structure, and funded the installation of the structure. The county is providing the site along with all the preparations and the utilities, and the city is providing the ongoing services and operations. So the county is also providing on-site behavioral health and self-sufficiency, as well as public health services and guidance. And it offers 24-hour intakes. So this is an example of how we're trying to work with many different entities for us to be able to come up with solutions, even when lines and jurisdictions are sometimes a little bit fuzzy. So next is our services and outreach. Our outreach teams are out there every day. They provide in-person direct services to people experiencing homelessness. They are comprised of human services specialists who engage people who are living without shelter in the field. They also go to outreach events. They work with community partners, and they can right there do self-sufficiency benefits, public assistance, so like CalFresh, CalWorks, Medi-Cal. They also have social workers, and the social workers can offer case management and connect individuals to housing resources and other resources that they need. So these are teams of folks that are out there, actually boots on the ground, working with people experiencing homelessness and engaging them, because we know trust takes time to build. We have to engage over and over again for people to eventually trust us and agree to services. So you can see how many engagements we've had. In 21-22, we had close to 18,000 engagements, including close to 3,300 applications, and connected over 1,500 people with housing and shelter. And we're also beginning to leverage technology. So this is our brand new RevTech outreach app. So in partnership with the Regional Task Force for Homelessness, we and the Homeless Management Information System has been enhanced to capture data from OHS outreach teams that will provide us with performance measures and outcomes countywide. So this is going to help us to be able to track data. So the HMIS system is something that we are working together with RTFH in order to transition from a manual system into a technology-based system, which will give us better and more accurate data. Future outcomes are going to be presented in public dashboards on the RTFH website. In addition, we're starting to work with the RevTech outreach app. This will enable county staff who are not specifically trained to work with people experiencing homelessness, for example, like park rangers or librarians, and they'll be able to identify individuals in encampments and then electronically send the referral to our OHS Direct Services team. That app went live last month, and so we're just in a pilot phase right now. We'll have more information, hopefully very shortly. So that rounds out the description of our OHS office. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, led by Lucero Chavez Basilio. And she's been on board since July, and she hit the ground running. So in June of 2021, the board established OIRA with it. It's the first time within HSEC. It serves as a centralized hub for all issues related to immigrants and refugees and connects families to county services, community resources, and information. It's really focused on advancing equity and opportunity for immigrants and refugee communities by removing barriers to help them integrate into society and thrive. So OIRA also works with other HHSA departments and leverages existing key stakeholders like the state of California, the refugee resettlement agencies, and other community-based organizations to identify better, or just to identify ways to best serve immigrant and refugee populations. Currently, there are 4 resettlement agencies in San Diego, with a 5th may be coming on soon. So the International Refugee Rescue Committee, Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities, Alliance for African Assistance are the 4 refugee resettlement agencies now who help refugees with their initial refugee settlement period. I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a moment. But in last year, OIRA ensured that 51% of refugee employment services participants were able to engage in unsubsidized employment. That helps to promote self-sufficiency and integration into their new homes, and is pretty consistent with what happens countrywide. In addition, we had over the last year, we did a lot of work with the refugee resettlement agencies and other key stakeholders. As you may know, there was an influx of Afghan refugees from Operations Allies Welcome into the county. And we worked with the different community stakeholders to come up with some ideas for how best to work with our newcomers. Out of that came the ability to request grant monies to help better serve our new neighbors and friends. And so we received a $2 million grant from the California Department of Social Services to implement projects that were recommended from these work groups. And so we are in the process of having those begin now. In addition, OIRA collaborated with the First 5 Commission in applying for a grant with the First 5 California Refugee Family Support Grant, which is also in process now and is to help families with young children be integrated and work through how to understand and work with childcare, schools, and all of those kinds of things. So that grant is also in its beginning stages. So just a little bit about what happens when refugees arrive in San Diego, or actually anywhere, but particularly in San Diego. They're connected with one of our 4 resettlement agencies for reception and placement services. All of that is done in coordination with the federal government. So like I mentioned, we have 4 resettlement agencies in San Diego. The 5th one that may come on shortly is La Maestra, but they're an official community partner, but not yet a full resettlement agencies. These organizations provide 30 to 90 days of basic needs support, which allows individuals who are here to focus on finding employment and become self-sufficient. The county provides an initial health screening through our refugee health assessment program. Families and children are referred to public assistance like CalWorks, Medi-Cal, CalFresh. Families without children are referred to the San Diego Newcomers Project, which provides employment services, social and acculturation services, and case management up to 60 months. And then we connect, they are all connected with whatever self-sufficiency services like refugee employment services to help them become self-sufficient. So, so it's a lot of connection through the county's services, but it's done by the resettlement agencies. So as I mentioned, we have some upcoming programs. And so we will be doing our First 5 grant, which is collaborating with, or actually it was awarded for $423,000 through next August. And it's going to support refugee families with either pregnant individuals or children 0 to 5 to navigate and connect to available services in a trauma-informed, culturally and linguistically designed program. So we're very, very excited because this is going to help families adjust and provide some care coordination, as well as to provide a social network. And as I mentioned before, with the funding we received from the state for Afghans, we are going to be instituting a landlord education program, an emotional wellness and self-care education program, and hiring community health workers to help provide direct assistance and navigation through our complicated system. And then I think this is finally our welcome center has been announced, and we're very, very excited about that, which is a physical hub that's going to provide resources for immigrants and refugees. And that is going to be in National City. And that welcome center, we hope that will open by the end of the year. And then in addition, Lucero has been very instrumental in listening to the community. She's hosted 2 listening sessions so far already. And then we're having the very first in-person listening session this coming Saturday, December 3rd. It'll be in San Marcos at the Boys and Girls Club. And the purpose of these listening sessions is to really find out how should OIRA engage with communities, what services are needed to be provided, not only to refugees, but immigrants, whether you're new or if you've been established for a while in this country. We just really want to hear what are those services that need to happen. And so Lucero will be there, and we'll hear directly from the community about the services that are needed. And lastly is our Office of Equitable Communities. And so our office is, our mission is to engage with each community to co-create positive change, strengthen equity, health, safety, economic inclusion, and access for all. And we do that in a number of different ways. I'm going to go over them. We can go to the next slide. So we start out with our regional community coordinators. So prior to the pandemic, you may know that HHSA delivered services regionally for over 2 decades. And during the pandemic, we had an opportunity to reimagine how we were going to deliver services. And so instead of delivering those services regionally, we determined it was better to centralize, to strengthen the services that were being provided. But we didn't want to lose the connections to community that we'd had previously. So Barbara mentioned she was the general manager for Central and South. I was for East and North Central, and Chuck Matthews was for the North County. And we know how important relationships and hearing from community is. And so while the services may be centralized, we really wanted the opportunity to continue to work closely with communities. And to do that, we needed to have a dynamic team of leaders. And so our regional community coordinator position was created. There are 6 of them, 1 for each HHSA region. So you can see them here. And they are reflective of the community. They live, play, work in the community that they serve. They are there to help receive feedback from the community and to share with the community what the county has been doing. It's really about that feedback that drives change within the county. And they're there to serve really with a lens of equity and to make sure that they're able to elevate community priorities. They also facilitate the regional community leadership teams. They co-facilitate with members of the community. And that's an opportunity to create change around health, safety, and economic inclusion. So they are instrumental in making sure that they're driving the counties and the agencies' goal of engagement efforts to traditionally under-resourced communities. I mentioned the Live Well leadership meeting, and those leadership teams, excuse me, there's 5 of them, 1 in each region except for the North County, because the North County, if anybody's from North County, they don't see themselves as 2 regions. I'm from North County, that's how I know. They don't see themselves as 2 regions, it's North County. So there's not inland and coastal. So there's 5 different leadership meetings. And they are made up of cross-sectional community partners who want to make a difference in the communities that they serve. There's a strategic plan and work groups for each one of the leadership teams, and they fall under 4 different pillars: health, economic vitality, education, quality of life, which could be things like homelessness and mental health, behavioral health. These are community driven. So we listen to the community. What are those things that they want to make an impact on? And then we serve as a backbone to try to help create that change that the community wants to see. The regional community coordinators are responsible for facilitating the collaboration, leveraging opportunities to improve equity and access. They make sure that there is alignment so that we're not working in silos, and they continue to engage partners to make sure that there's a collective impact and that collective action strategies are in place. And then next slide. We also have our community health and engagement teams, also known as CHET. So CHET helps to, they support the planning and the implementation of various health and well-being programs. They really are boots on the ground when they're out in the community. They have experience and expertise in community engagement. They do things like weekly newsletters, social media. They are all about engaging with community at collaborative meetings and creating inclusive educational promotional materials, implementing behavioral health and public health campaigns, and providing resources and information at community events. So some of the key projects that they work on are Check Your Mood, Family First programming, which is in conjunction with our child welfare services, our Grandparents Raising Grandchildren events, and then a lot of the community engagement efforts. You heard Ms. Nash talk about the Southeastern Live Well Center, and they are the ones that are out in the community doing engagement efforts around things like even what color should the building be, because we want to know from our community what that building that's going to be there for hopefully a good amount of time serving the community, what should it even look like. They do work with vaccination clinics, food distribution, back to school events, and they do things like different district revitalization meetings. It goes on and on and on. But so anything having to do with engagement or education, you'll see our community health and engagement team at the forefront. And then we're excited to finally have brought on our first group of community health workers. So our community health workers, this is a brand new classification to the county. The community health workers are trusted messengers within their communities. During COVID-19, we learned how important community health workers are when it comes to educating and being trusted messengers in communities. And so we've been leveraging that work around COVID-19, first through some grants. So we brought on some 10 grant funded positions to help us learn, because being a community health worker for the government is very different than for a community agency, community-based agency. So they helped us to learn what does it look like to have community health workers within our team. And so they've been on with us since close to the beginning of the year. And they leverage events and outreach to increase community awareness, engage the community on things like COVID-19. They focus on public education, prevention, and navigation of key county services. So these folks, they're reflective of their community, and they are able to help people navigate through the very sometimes difficult bureaucracy of working within county service. And so they can connect them, they can walk them through how to engage, how to, if they're hitting a roadblock, how to teach them how to get around those roadblocks so they're not hitting them over and over again, and be that trusted source. They have been essential and been an incredible asset to our teams, because they bring back community members' perspectives and feedback as well, which helps us in turn to identify gaps and focus where our efforts need to be. They serve in the highest areas of need. We use data-driven assessments to prioritize their placement based on the Healthy Places Index, the 4th quartile areas. Since mid-April, they've participated in well over 100 events and have connected directly with close to 5,000 community members. And this is the first time we have 12 county-funded CHW positions. So those are county employees, full benefited positions. And they, the first cohort began earlier this month. And so they're in training right now. We're very excited about that. And then we also have within Office of Equitable Communities, we have our Community Action Partnership. Community Action Partnership is probably some of the most flexible funding that we have within the county, in that it comes from the Community Services Block Grant funding. And every other year we complete a community needs assessment, which is going to happen right at the beginning of the new year. And that helps us to determine which programs are needed by the community. We have a community action, CAB, we call it the Community Action Board, which the members provide feedback to CAP on services that can best serve the traditionally under-resourced communities to help end poverty. That is the goal of the CAP program. CAP contracts with community agencies and grassroots organizations to provide direct and indirect services for lower income populations that support county initiatives. So things like our Resident Leadership Academy, which helps residents to learn how to be civically engaged, teaches them, how to go to a city council meeting and say, we want a sidewalk, or we want crosswalk in a certain area. It teaches them how to know what to say and how to fill out the form to be able to speak in front of a government board. It teaches them how to do assessments of their neighborhood to see if they're having issues with food apartheid and things like that. The Live Well Exchange, our walk and roll, which is a bike, pedestrian and scooter education, the earned income tax credit coordination, which is the largest poverty reducing program in the United States, which is about to kick off here for the new year. It's a very small team, but they do a lot of really good work. They are small but mighty. So as you can see, our entire department is focused on engaging with communities throughout the region. This here is an example of one of our bigger events, which is Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. It's a family enrichment program. So it's actually any kinship family that's raising their kin. It can be a part of these programs. The last summer, we brought together 850 kinship families to the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park for free. They were able to access valuable resources, connect with one another to be able to form a social safety net. And it was a fun day filled with all sorts of free activities. And so our community health and engagement team by itself has participated in over 500 community events and touched the lives of over 38,000 families and individuals. So our goal really is with the Office of Equitable Communities is to be right there with community, shoulder to shoulder, working through and figuring out how to better support those that need it. And let's see, I think with that, we're open for questions. And I believe Lucero is on and Bridget from our Office of Homeless Solutions.
Any questions?
Yes, this is Commissioner Khoury. I am interested in getting a copy of this presentation, as quite a number of our community, especially in East County, are immigrants or refugees, especially the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Palestinians, and so on. And I'd like this information is non-existent to our community, and I'd like to take that presentation at least and share it with some of the leaderships we have. Thank you.
We will be happy to share, we'll be happy to share the presentation. And George, I'm sure if you'd like to reach out to Lucero, she's happy to connect with you. And then in addition, I would love to put you in touch with Kellyanne Rodriguez, who's our East Regional Community Coordinator. And she can also help connect and do presentations or whatever you think would be best as well to get the information out.
Would you be, could you please share these contacts and the telephone numbers through our team? Thank you.
Happy to do so.
Any other questions? I do see hands up.
Yep, looks like we have Commissioner Ismail, and then we have Tom Packard, a member of the public.
Oh, great.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. Amazing services. I work with the International Rescue Committee, so great partnership and appreciate everything that you do. I was about to ask the same question if you could kindly share contact information and the presentation, especially interested in the housing section, all the great work that's been in progress to share with the communities. And I have a quick question about the Haitian community. So we have increased numbers of the Haitian community, especially central area. So just wondering if if there are any special programs on terms of housing or any other programs available for them. Thank you so much.
Lucero, I don't know if you want to answer or would you? I think she's trying to get off mute. Oh, okay, so I think she can't get off mute at the moment. So there are, to my knowledge, there aren't any specialized programs related to housing for Haitians in particular. What we can do is go back and take a look and see if there is anything, and I'll connect you and Lucero to be able to share that if she finds any information to share it with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Great.
And so we have Tom Packard, member of the public.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I have a question on the two questions, but really I'll just stick with one for now, kind of on your relationship with the regional task force. You mentioned, or I saw in one of the slides, that one of your areas of focus is better coordination and being a central point of collaboration. It looked like a lot of what you do is more direct services. I did notice that you mentioned the regional task force at least a couple times on grants and on your work on the HMIS. And I understand Barbara Jimenez is on the Continuum of Care Advisory Board, but I'm just wondering what are the uniquenesses of your office compared to the regional task force, and then maybe some of the ways that you are working together more at the macro level, the coordination and all of that.
Bridget, well, there we go.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bridget Cooper. I'm chief with the Office of Homeless Solutions. Yeah, so we do coordinate with RTFH on a variety of different projects. Our team does work in the HMIS system, which is overseen, of course, by RTFH. And we do work on, we have a couple other projects in process. But as far as the county goes and our team, we are definitely direct services. So a lot of our teams are out in the field and connecting with people individually. But as Jennifer kind of explained some of our other programs too on the system side, we have several contracts and other programs that we do coordinate with a variety of different community partners. All of those programs that she went into detail, we can definitely give you a listing if you'd like to know all of the partners that we're working with currently. But yeah, we are always open and willing and establishing new partnerships as we move along. We are pretty new, only a year in. So I hope that's helpful. But we are always willing and open to collaborating with other agencies.
Any other questions?
Not seeing any other hands. Oh, we do have one more. We have Sam Merle.
Sam?
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just curious. This department is taking on a lot. Wow, that's what I say. But I'm wondering, how are you going to measure how effective you are? So I know you guys are pretty new. So you guys are coming up with some kind of measurements to measure what kind of outcomes that you intend to achieve, because you're taking on an awful lot, granted. So I'm just wondering, how can you measure the success of what you guys are trying to accomplish in the various programs?
Samuel, you have just taken the words out of my mouth. Yeah, we are working on that. That is, we are brand new, so we've been only in place for about a year. We're starting to measure some of the outputs, as you saw some of the data that we presented during the presentation. But outputs are not outcomes, and we know that. So we are trying to look to how do you, like for my office in particular, equitable communities, how do you measure community impact? What does that look like? So we are starting to look at some best practices nationwide, because it is important to be able to tell the story through data. I mean, that's one big piece of a story. And so we do want to make sure that when we're doing things, we're not just measuring the outputs, although that's what we have at the moment. And we hope shortly to have outcomes to be able to measure that as well. We have anecdotal outcomes from OHS, from OIRA, from OEQC, but how do you make that more than anecdotal? And so I think the county has done a good job, where there's a lot of emphasis from the board on measuring. There's some equity indicators. There's other ways that we're going to be looking at different things, but I don't have an answer for you right now, Samuel. That is actually a question that we are working through as we speak. So as soon as we have at least the start of what that's going to look like, we're happy to come back and report out to you what we're going to be measuring.
Thank you, Sam Merrill. That's one of my BayPAC board members asking a great question. Took the words out of my mouth, definitely. Any other questions?
And it looks like we have Jacqueline Clark, and we have, I think, Mr. Packard has his hand back up. Sure, Nash.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, thank you. I have a question and actually a comment. I'm one who utilizes public transportation pretty frequently. And so encountering our unsheltered homeless folks is something that happens often. And one of the things that I didn't hear, or maybe I missed, was, as a person like myself, how can we involve the community more in when we encounter our unsheltered? Because sometimes it's pretty scary, and other times you want to help, but you don't want to contribute to the problem because you don't really know the extent of the problem. But mainly, my concern is, how do we engage? Because, for instance, on a bus, you have the driver, and then you're pretty much open space to everyone on there. So there's not really what I would consider a safe place on a bus. And on a trolley, I feel safer on the first car where the trolley driver is. So I'm always getting on the first trolley car because I know that I can get the attention of the driver much quicker. But for folks who just, maybe new to the trolley system or public transportation, or just being out walking, it's pretty scary when you encounter someone who is having a mental crisis, or whatever that might look like to us, something that, their behavior indicates to us something is not right. So I wanted to know what we could do more to involve or train and alert the community, or how to engage for their safety first, and then out of compassion toward those who are less unfortunate. And the last thing is a comment that I noticed last night. I was leaving the Central Library downtown, and it turns into the homeless shelter, like right before the sun starts to go down. But when I came out, it probably was around like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I was waiting for an Uber. And I almost broke out in the dash, and I know it might sound funny, but it's really not, because I saw rats coming up out of the planters, or whatever those the trees, and I panicked. I was like frozen, like I didn't know which way to go, because some of them were running towards the trolley, or skirting back and forth. And I just think that that's another, I don't know how much environmental issues can arise out of that. I can only imagine, but is that being addressed along with the trash accumulation that goes along with homeless encampment? So those are the two things that I just wanted to point out as my own, as Miss Ellen spoke of personal experience. This is coming to you like firsthand knowledge of my own personal experiences. Thank you.
So I wonder, related to safety issues, we might need to have law enforcement's perspective on what to do if you encounter somebody and you feel unsafe, whether, if they're unhoused, what would be the steps to take? And then maybe Bridget could address the encampments and the environmental issue.
Yeah, no, thank you for your comments. I think what you said is very it's good for us to know, and I do think that educating the community and getting the word out there, just as far as what you said, how to engage, how to be compassionate. I think that's going to be an ongoing just an ongoing conversation, and it's definitely something that on the county's perspective, something that we definitely want to work on. We do a lot of our communication out in the field with our partners, with our customers that we encounter. Community at large, though, I think that is definitely something we need to look into, and how we get those messages across. Jennifer's team that is out in the community all the time is a good avenue in order for us to educate folks, and how some of these things kind of, how to navigate some of these situations. On the bus side, I know the transit centers, they do have security. Some of our team actually does outreach with some of those entities. We do go out with MTS as well as the North County Transit Department. So those are two partnerships that we do have in place, although we're not there every day. We are definitely trying to engage and help folks that are using public transportation. As far as security, I think I agree with Jennifer. That's something we'd have to kind of look into and maybe get some insight from law enforcement. And then as far as encampments and things that you might be seeing around either the city or, just wherever you're traveling, I know that there's different jurisdictions. So for the city of San Diego, the area that you're mentioning over by the library, that is a focus on theirs. Actually, I was just in a meeting yesterday that they are working on a encampment and cleanup over there. That's been an encampment that's been prevalent for a really long time, and they're working on getting some funding to kind of clean up that area, and then what to do afterwards, as far as making that area safer, maybe put in some lighting. They're having some discussions in and around that, but that's one specific area, so it's not encompassing any spot that you might see some encampments. But I think it's really, it just depends on where it is and what jurisdiction you're in, what city you're in. Most cities have ways of reporting either encampments or areas that need either cleanup or just some attention in general. So that would be my first recommendation, is to kind of figure out which jurisdiction you're in, and then contact either those cities. If it's unincorporated, of course, it would be county property, and we can definitely assist with that. But I think it's just wherever you're at and the resources that are available for those areas, which I know can be a little confusing sometimes, and not knowing who and where to contact certain things. But that's really the kind of the first spot.
Any other questions?
And Chair Nash, just a quick time check. It is 11:50, but we do have Commissioner Fowler's hand up, and we have two members of the public. We have Vanessa Graziano.
Yes.
And Sam Murrell hands back up.
Okay.
Would you like to go to members of the public first, or?
Absolutely. Members of the public and our commissioners. Yes.
Okay.
Network.
All right, Vanessa Graziano.
Is Vanessa on? She's trying to unmute.
Yes, she should be able to unmute. Let's see. Okay, we'll go to Sam as we're working with Vanessa to get her to be able to unmute.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm just curious in regards to the funding for the department. Do you guys have like a general fund? Are you guys gonna be funded by grants that you have to reapply for every year for your ongoing programs? Just curious about your funding.
So our funding comes in several different ways. It's an excellent question. Thank you for asking. So we have funding, from, there may be for, let's say for homeless solutions, some of that funding comes from the Fed, some of it comes from the state. Same with OIRA, same with Office of Equitable Communities. We have funding from grants, as you heard, a couple of grants. So it comes in from multiple different sources, depending upon which program we're working with in particular. There is some county general funding as well. So there isn't one direct funding stream, but we're always looking for other opportunities through grants to expand our, our services and our capability.
Thank you.
Vanessa?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
We can.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm so sorry about that. I was dropping my daughter off and it went blank. First off, I just really want to thank you all. I'm glad to be on this Zoom and just listening and all the wonderful work you're doing. My question was too about the accountability and the success. So someone already brought that up. And then I started thinking also, with the different landlords, do we have something where we have set up where we make them accountable to make sure that they have safe places that they're renting that's not traumatizing our unhoused when we put them into different situations? I run a nonprofit myself up here in North County, and I'm also part of the Lived Experience Advisors and the HEAL Network. And so one of the things we're trying to do is work on something like this, because what we've noticed is when we're putting some of our clients in different places that are run by the county or individually, privately, we're working with landlords that we've noticed are creating a more traumatizing space. So where would we go, or where would I go if I wanted to talk to someone about that, and see how we can change that and create a more healing environment? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Vanessa. So I think that is more of a question for since it's about how apartments or housing in particular. That probably would be more of either the fair employment housing for the state, or if it was a complaint or concern, or it could be for our housing and community development services. If it's in an unincorporated area, there's a lot of ifs, because some cities have their own housing commission or authority. But if there's one in particular, one of the things that you can do is maybe join our leadership team and one of our leadership teams in North County, and talk about the importance of this, and have that grassroots effort. And we could certainly connect you with our housing and community development department here for the county. And happy to provide you with some information regarding fair employment and housing for the state as well. It's all interconnected, but we all have a slightly different role. So our Office of Homeless Solutions doesn't oversee actual housing per se. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bridget.
No, that's correct. If you have any questions of specific sites or any areas, we definitely can help you make those connections if you want to reach out. Vanessa, I think I have your contact information. Feel free to email me at any time.
Any other questions? We're only 5 minutes away from ending.
May I just make a comment, Commissioner Nash, to
Absolutely.
to Vanessa? Thank you. I'm a Executive Director of a Fair Housing Agency, and thank you very much, Jennifer. You're absolutely correct. Any of those possible fair housing violations, Vanessa, you can call us, CSA San Diego County Fair Housing, and we can file with the FEH. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? I would like to thank, first of all, thank this great presentation from these great leaders regarding homeless solutions, equitable communities, and immigrant affairs. You did a great job. It doesn't answer my question though, in regards to translation from our Board of Supervisors declaring racism and homelessness as a public health crisis. So we need to definitely bring our leadership back in terms of how that this is operationalized and where your roles fit in. I want to say, if I were to just make a comment about, I'm very impressed with immigration affairs. Very intentional, very focused. Although some of our commissioners expressed concern about not getting the information out, but what you have designed is a program that is very, very targeted and specific. In regards to the Department of Homelessness and Equitable Communities, we have a lot of work to do. I think I could speak on behalf of the commission. We need to see a sense of urgency. I go back to what I started with. If I see it every single day, and it doesn't look like it's getting better, it's traumatizing. And so we need to do a better job in that particular area. We could go on and on for days. I know the County Board of Supervisors, the City Council members had an event a few weeks ago, apparently the first or second time in history. I know the Regional Task Force on the Homelessness is having a 2-day conference, which I will be attending. But in the meantime, I still see people sleeping on the streets. Now in nice tents, but they're still on the streets. And most of them look like me. So I start from there. How do we move them from the streets to housing? Say parking lots, sleeping cabins, I've heard, containers, tiny homes. We need to come up with a solution sooner than later. There needs to be a sense of urgency on the part of all of our leaderships around moving those individuals from the streets to housing. So with that said, I really want to, so on record, we need to do a better job, and the Human Relations Commission stands ready to assist. I have David Garcia, who's our chair of our Policies and Procedures Committee. We have subcommittees here where the work really gets done. I would invite your staff to become part of the subcommittee in some way, so we can really lay out a strategy of starting with moving folks from the streets into housing. And also, we've spoken about a client-centered approach. There's some suggestions and recommendations that we have in regards to a much better client-centered approach. I don't have time to tell you stories, but I do have lots of stories around that, where there definitely needs to be some improvements. So thank you for your time, and we'll definitely bring back the HHS leadership team to talk about this public health crisis that they've declared from the Board of Supervisors. It is now 12 o'clock. Is there anything else we need to say? I like to end on time. Commissioner Corey?
Yes, I would like to add for our next agenda for next meeting to bring in the sheriff to respond to the article that was in the paper in the UT last week on November, or actually this week on November the 26th, with them not really coming. It's been 9 months already, and we'd like to know what the hell they're doing, to be honest. Thank you.
Okay. All right, done. Any other questions, comments?
And Chair Nash, I just want to throw out there that we're going to be looking at moving the next meeting date, because right now it is December 20th. So I just want to let everybody know
yes.
that date might change. And we discussed that, but I want to make sure we put that out there to let folks know. And
Right.
the Tuesday before that is a board meeting, so we got to be strategic about what the next date of the meeting is.
Okay,
All right?
we will do, will do. Okay, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.